Yeah, thank you. Okay. So, I thank you very much for giving me a very, very precious opportunity. As I wrote in my abstract, today's presentation is mainly practice oriented. It's not that research oriented. Of course, I did the research, but content of my presentation today is much more focusing on the how to introduce peer assessment and what kind of impact the student gained from that experience. So I will share two examples which I had conducted in my own lesson. And one is the what the Trevor just mentioned. And the second one is uh, before the COVID-19, so several years ago, the different type of uh, activity, but still, which include the peer assessment. So, okay, let me share my screen. Because I would like to share several things. So, can you see my screen? I intentionally didn't to make the slideshow, but can you see my slide right now? Okay. Okay. So, the title of my presentation is to peer assessment and to practical example of student learning by assessing. And as I mentioned, I will explain two examples. The first one is a video presentation project, which was conducted online during the COVID-19 pandemic. And example two is our introduction of favorite English song activity. It was conducted face-to-face because it's before the COVID-19 pandemic happened. So, but anyway, so in both examples, the key word or key phrase for today is students can learn by assessing the work of their peers. Yeah, which is according to the topics 1998. And I will share my example, but more than that, I would like to get your comments, feedback, and also I would like to listen to your own experience. So I would like to take much time on the question and answer. Okay, so uh, so the first example are some of you are already familiar with this project, but I would like to briefly explain and what kind of impact or what kind of perception students have. So example one is effectiveness of learners' peer assessment by using video presentation. So this is actually the research, and my initial motive for this research is one of the most challenging missions for the teachers while dealing with the sudden remote teaching due to the COVID-19 pandemic was how to realize students' overall English presentation. Now I'm talking to you from Tokyo, and I hope my Wi-Fi connection will be okay. But at that time, especially at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, it was a kind of hazardous situation. So online video conference applications such as Zoom or Google Meet or others enable teachers and students to interact to some extent. However, not all students had a stable Wi-Fi connection, and their PCs were suddenly crashed at the time, and which often interfered with even simple classroom conversation. So that was happening in 2020, 2020 or 2021. These two years we had a challenging time. So my initial motive is how to realize student overall English presentation and moreover, how to let or help students interact each other. Okay, and I would like to introduce a brief lit review. So in order to make our presentation or in order to realize a successful communication speaking, our various knowledge and skill from speaking or communicative competence. And canal swan and canal communicative competence, four kind of competence are very well known. And also Go and Burns also suggested the three aspects of L2 speaking competence. So they are suggesting not only grammatical competence, but also our discourse, social linguistic, or other strategic competence are also needed to make successful communication. And especially for the beginner level student who don't have sufficient vocabulary or sufficient syntactic knowledge, are the many previous researchers pointed out the importance of communication strategy to compensate our communication breakdown. And also, regarding the communication strategies, Cosmo pointed categorized three problem-solving mechanisms. The first one is approximation and circumlocution. So the speaker can use a if the speaker have the lexical problems such as a lack of vocabulary, so they use this circumlocution, which means the student don't have the certain word, but he or she try to describe the thing using other words or try to explain and then you mean this. So this is our circumlocution. And grammatical substitution and reduction are to compensate for insufficient grammatical knowledge. And also another one is if the learner has a problem in terms of phonology or pronunciation, they can use a similar sounding words. So the Cosmos pointed out this communication strategy, especially for the beginner level students. Okay. Moreover, these are in my research and in my activity, I use a video. So the previous researchers pointed out the several benefits or effectiveness of using video. The first one is authenticity have the positive impact on the motivation. And authenticity or authentic is a kind of tricky word actually. And there are several definitions depending on the researcher. So in my presentation today, I employ this LOST definition. The LOST said any source of input and interaction that satisfy the learner's search for knowledge and allow the learner to control their language use is authentic. So I employ this LOST definition and regard the student video presentation as authentic material. Of course, other definitions can be possible, but for this presentation, okay, thank you. So in this presentation, I use this definition. Thank you very much for your comment on the chat. I will mention it later. Okay, so authenticity or authentic material can enhance the motivation. So, which was pointed out by Melvin and Stout, are saying authentic material incredibly motivates students at all level. Or Sherman said authenticity itself is an inducement, or Peacock are suggested that authentic material contribute to a significant increase in the learner's on-task behavior and motivation. And authenticity also seems to have a positive impact on the communicative competence. So Weyer, 1999, suggested that authentic video material, I will use video, okay? So authentic video materials are a valuable tool for developing learners' listening comprehension and confidence in producing output. And Alf Den Haar suggested that authentic audio materials are also effective for raising awareness of pronunciation and suprasegmental features such as stress, tone, and intonation contours. And Drew Moore suggested that the experimental group, they are exposed to authentic material, enhance their communicative competence more greatly than the control group. So communication strategy plus video seems to contribute to enhance beginner level students' speaking performance, even under the difficult situation under the COVID-19 pandemic. That was the first motivation. And today's key point, peer assessment. And so there are two kinds of assessment which that a student conduct. First one is students assess or evaluate themselves. So self-assessment, or the student assess their classmates, peer assessment. And Chen and Chow to study 15 student videotapes out of class language learning. So out of class language learning include recording the interview practice, and they upload the video on their e-portfolio. And the students reflect on their video and also looking each other's video and making a comment and suggestion. It's a kind of self-assessment and peer assessment are involved. And Chen and Chow conclude that the use of video motivates students to improve their showcases from both individual and community perspective. And second one, Murphy and Verley, in their study, the 59 university students made a presentation in person, face-to-face, but the students self-assessed their performance twice, just after the presentation. So it's based on their own memory. And second, after reviewing the video recording of their in-person presentation. And then they concluded that the use of video provided the student with feed-forward value because they could recognize area for improvement in future presentation through the video reviewing and self-assessment. So, to sum up, my students are at the beginner's level and they have the difficulty speaking English even in the face-to-face mode. And it was during the COVID-19 pandemic, so we can only contact via PC, Zoom. And other time, what can I do? So thinking about the communication strategy using the video and the authentic, a little bit tricky, but anyway, our authentic situation and then try to introduce self-assessment and peer assessment. So that was the motive and also the background of that study. Okay, so method. So some of you have already saw this one. Actually, this slide is from the Performance in Education 6 presentations. So I let my student make a video presentation 3 times. And then based on the same rubric, I let my student self-assess, peer assess, and I also invite 5 teachers later and compare how the teacher later evaluate their performance similarly or differently from the students' self and peer assessment. And today's focus is the impact of the peer assessment. Okay, so my students are a Japanese EFL college student, and they took a compulsory English course in the 2021 fall semester. It was still during the COVID-19 pandemic, so it was conducted online. The number of the students is 22, and all of them are first-year students. And I could meet them twice a week for 15 weeks. So 30 lessons in total are conducted during the semester. So the design of my research is, so I had my student make a video presentation 3 times. And after 3 presentations, I had my students self-assess, peer assess, and I also let them answer self-efficacy, speaking self-efficacy questionnaire using the same rubric. And also, in terms of the research, I invited 5 teacher later, excluding me. Other 5 teachers later also assessed the same presentation. And then how I introduced the peer assessment. So at first, I asked students made a video by using their smartphone or PC. And then I asked them to send the video, and then the teacher, which means I uploaded the video on the university's LMS, Learning Management System. At that time, I was working at another university. So at that time, that university's LMS was Blackboard. So I uploaded video on the university's Blackboard LMS. And then students watch their own video and evaluate their performance based on the rubric. I will show the rubric later. And then students watch their classmate video, peer assess, and wrote a comment to each other. And finally, students read the comment given by other classmates and answer the self-efficacy questionnaire. So students first made a video and I uploaded on the university's LMS blog function. And the student watch it, self-assess, and peer assess, and make a comment to each other. And finally, I got the response from the self-efficacy questionnaire. So as I already mentioned, I repeatedly conduct this sequence. And the topic of video presentation is, first one is self-introduction. And second one is three subjects. Please describe three subjects you have learned at the university. And third one is the future travel. Describe three places you want to visit after the COVID-19 pandemic. So when thinking of the topic, I put importance on topic familiarity. However, I have to admit that maybe topic difficulty should be considered much more. For example, compared to the self-introduction, our describing three subjects would be much more difficult, I think. And describe three places they want to visit is much more difficult than the self-introduction. So in addition to topic familiarity, topic difficulty should have been much more carefully considered. That was the limitation of my study, but still, it works. Okay, and how the student that made a comment to each other is like this. So this is a screenshot of the LMS, and for the privacy purposes, I erase the face or the name and something, but you can see the image. So there are 22 students. So having the student watch their own video and evaluate their performance based on the rubric, and then having the student watch other members. So 22 students, so other 21 members video and write a comment to each other in English. So this student got the other 21 students' comments. So she told something like Eiffel Tower. So someone wrote, I want to see Eiffel Tower, blah, 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 blah. Or the first picture is very beautiful, blah, 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 blah. And because the student proficiency level was low, I didn't expect long comment because it's difficult for them to finish making the comment. But I asked them not to write just good or interesting, but try to mention the content of the video and then respond to it. So one sentence or two sentences are enough, but try to mention what was interesting or what was good. So that's why they mention the contents of each video. And here is the rubric. This rubric is originally made at the university, and I modified the university's rubric according to the communication strategy. So criteria is the content, whether this presentation provided detailed information, or organization, whether this presentation is logically organized, and fluency, whether the student don't put so many pauses, and also vocabulary, whether the student use appropriate vocabulary for the audience to understand the content of the presentation. And also the lastly is nonverbal communication, gesture, and the use of visual aid is one of also the communication strategies. And the self-efficacy questionnaire is a kind of can-do statement. And you might notice that these six I can do something is totally related to the rubric. Yes, it is. So I intentionally make rubric and a self-efficacy questionnaire is related to each other. Okay. And the results, because our today's presentation is practice oriented, so I don't explain so much about the results of the statistical analysis, but I would like to show some visuals. So the first result is difficult differences among student self-assessment, teacher assessment, and peer assessment. And some of them are familiar with the Rush analysis, Rush statistic way, or some of them are not. But roughly speaking, so in this chart, or in other words, it's called right map, the higher the rata located, these are severe rata. The lower the rata located, they are more lenient rata. So student self-assessment, student 1 to student 22, located from here to here, blue line. And student peer assessment, P1 to P22, are ranged from here to here, orange line. You can clearly notice that the students provided far more lenient rating to their classmates than to themselves. So student self-assessment tends to be very, very severe. Then what about the teacher assessment? Teacher assessment, 5 teachers range from here to here, green line. So student self-assessment showed much wider variation than the teacher assessment. So, in terms of the accuracy, or in terms of the similarity among the student assessment, peer assessment, and the teacher's assessment, they are different. So sometimes the teacher would like to introduce peer assessment instead of teacher's assessment sometimes. However, the teacher assessment and peer assessment have that clear differences. And so this is one of the key points the teachers should be careful. And teacher's assessment cannot replace teacher's assessment cannot replace by our peer assessment. This is one result. Despite of these huge differences among these 3 types of assessment, the second result, important result, is our student performance improved. So using the same right map is easier. So I use the same one. So in this right map, the higher the item position, that are estimated difficult, and the lower the item position, it's estimated easier. And you can see presentation 1 is positioned higher, presentation 2 follows, and presentation 3 follows. So despite the huge difference in severity between the student self-assessment, peer assessment, and teacher assessment, the difficulty estimate became lower, or presentation became easier from presentation 1 to presentation 3. From that, we can interpret that students performed best student got the best score in presentation 3. Then, why students make progress? Of course, students make a video 3 times. They might get used to it, or 3 times multiple experience improve their competence to some extent. But more importantly, our student response to the post-course interview indicated that through the 3 presentations, they watched classmate performance, and then they became able to employ various communication strategies, which I mentioned in the lit review section. For example, student 11, this student was male. She said, watching his classmate video, he purposefully made his script grammatically easier for the audience in the next presentation or the next presentation. So grammatically easier, which is a grammatical reduction communication strategy. And the student 10 and the student 13, female, they decided to use gestures and visual aids in presentation 3. And they explicitly mentioned that it was after looking at their classmate performances in presentation 1 and 2. And as I already mentioned, the use of gesture and visual aids are nonverbal communication strategies. So peer assessment, looking at peers' performance, encourage them to notice areas for further improvement. That's why I suggested learning by assessing happen. And they improved from presentation 1 to 3. Okay. And then self-efficacy questionnaire. This slide is same as before. So rubric and self-efficacy questionnaire corresponded to each other. And then so content, organization, fluency, and vocabulary are kind of verbal, linguistic aspects, and the gesture and the visual aids are non-verbal communication. So I separately are analyzed using the Rush model. So student self-efficacy of linguistic feature, content organization, fluency, vocabulary, they improve. They are self-efficacy means I can do, I can organize, I can speak, or I can use vocabulary, these things. So from lesson 7, lesson 14, lesson 24, it was improved. And also use of gesture and visual aids are also improved. And okay, finally, so I would like to mention 3 factors to enhance student self-efficacy. Both linguistic and non-linguistic features improved during the 15-week course. So first factor is students became more aware of their audience. By introducing peer assessment, the students already know that this video will be watched by classmates. If students only send the video and if only I evaluate, maybe that kind of pleasure, positive pleasure did not happen. But students know and students are aware of the fact that my video will be watched by others. So they purposefully employ nonverbal communication strategy to convey their message, or they purposefully chose the sentence, words, and speech late so that their audience would better understand the presentation. And the second one, I told about the topic familiarity familiarity, and topic familiarity also seemed important. And the students' level are beginners, I already told. More specifically, the student's level in terms of the TOEIC score is below 300. However, the students' video presentation were made only in English without subtitle. And the student could understand the video, which is because three topic, three the self-introduction, three subjects at the university, and future travel were familiar to them. And third one, self-assessment and peer assessment and feedback facilitate the student noticing of the area for improvement and enhance the motivation. So I put the original Japanese comment and my English translation. So I just mentioned the English translation. So left-hand side. When I look at my classmate comments for the first time, I was very impressed. I had not had confidence. So when my classmates said it's a very good video or I like it too, they give me much confidence. And on the right-hand side, so with peer feedback, I can be motivated. Many YouTubers often said, please leave your comments. I didn't know why, but now I understand why they say so. So not only the self-assessment, but the peer assessment gave the student motivation and self-efficacy. That were the third point. Thank you very much for your comment on the chat. So let me see. Thank you very much for your comment. Okay, so this example one is a video presentation project, and then our chat in the chat messages are rubric was okay. Thank you. Yeah, rubric was okay, but how about creativity or interest level be added? Yeah, exactly. So maybe the next time, creativity or interest level can be added to the rubric next time. It will be interesting. Thank you very much. And also self and peer and a teacher evaluation are done for different purposes. Yeah, it's true.
Sachi,
Yes.
my first comment was on slide 22.
Mm-hmm. 22.
Um,
Yes.
well, when you say basically, people think up is good, down is bad.
Mm.
However, in this case, too maybe too too severe is not good, and too lenient is not good. So it's not. So if you had a horizontal scale, then you can list that these are not optimal on either end are not optimal types of comments. Then it would be uh, uh, you would have both the data would be presented and also the interpretation of the data, the pictorial interpretation of the data would also be, I think, closer to reality.
Thank you very much. Yes. Yeah. Actually, of course, I have the data, and are yeah. But for this presentation, I try to omit the statistical thing. So yeah, which made a little bit vague actually. But in the data level, of course, the presentation one uh, was most are difficult, and the presentation two and three became easier or got the higher score. So thank you very much for your suggestion.
I'm sorry, it must be. I'm sorry, it was for slide 21. My mistake.
After 21.
Yes.
Okay.
The severity and the leniency. Sorry, my mistake. Because too severe is not good, too lenient is not good, but it looks like severe is good and lenient is bad, is the interpretation that most people think of when they think of up and down. When you think of talking to the, like, let's say the king, we say your highness. Your highness means high, high level, high status. High is good.
Oh.
So, David, the thing here is in rash analysis, this is a kind of standard output. It's called a right map after.
Yeah, I know this, Trevor. I know this, but I'm saying when you're
Yeah,
giving the presentation of the
yeah.
data, if you
So,
could, if you you might be, it might be better to rotate
yeah.
the diagram.
The other thing here is if you look at the top, you can see it says plus student, and then it says minus rater, minus time, minus criteria. And so those are called positive or negative facets. And so one of the things David is saying is if you change the time facet to a positive facet, it will reflect that it's about persons, because the persons are a positive, students are a positive facet. It means that a higher performance goes higher. Chart. A negative facet means that a higher performance would be lower. So a more severe rater will give a lower grade. Okay, that's why it's a negative. And so basically, if you can change in the analysis, you can change time into a positive facet. And the thing is, if you're used to rash analysis, you automatically adjust either way. But I think for what David is saying is for people who don't understand the analysis, it's easier to have a higher performance at the top.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. For the
Trevor,
presentation purposes. Yeah, it's totally. Yeah,
Trevor, I'm just talking about in terms of informatics, looking at the way charts are read and interpreted by a general public. That's all I was talking about. So, I agree with you.
Yeah, the thing there is that that would have to be a custom graphic, which would be a lot of work. Whereas
yeah, I understood.
Whereas this, it takes like a second to output. So that's
I understand.
But actually, the other thing I think is really important here is that all of the facets are on the same measurement scale. And what we can see is that presentation 3, the difference between presentation 1 and presentation 3 is nearly as big as the range of student ability. So what that means is even the low students in the first presentation, in the third presentation, they're doing about nearly as well as the best students, which is a huge improvement. That's really impressive.
But Trevor, I see that.
Yeah.
However, when we're looking at the screen, the computer screen, we cannot see all those details.
Yeah.
We cannot even read many of the items on the output there. So all we do is just see direction.
Yeah.
Thank you. Trevor, later. So this presentation is recorded. So, and also for those who would like to get the outcome, is there any way to send, or is there any way to share?
We can put that on.
Put this on YouTube.
So we'll put the video on YouTube.
Okay.
And then, can we share files, Bill? Or?
Yeah, we can link to files.
And we can link to files to share.
Okay, great. Then it's easier for them to look at. Yeah. I totally admit that the letter is so small. I'm so sorry about that. Okay, another chat. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you for sharing your amazing work. Thank you. Hi, could you please explain brief your research design, how you involve teacher rater in your study? Okay, did you hire the teacher raters or were they volunteers? How did you manage to convince them to participate? How long did it take for the teacher rater to complete the rubric assessment for all 22 students? Yes, how 22 students, multiple, 3 times. Yeah. Actually, okay, so let me share the research designs one. Here, right? Okay, here. So our 5 teacher rater is teacher's rating is only for the purpose of my research. So and these 5 teacher rater are, I did not include them. Of course, I evaluated the 22 student performance for the pedagogical reason. Of course, I'm teaching. So I give my rating to my student, but 5 teacher rating were not provided to the students. This is the 5 teacher raters were only for the research purpose to compare the difference in the severity or leniency among the student rating and the teacher's rating. And your question is actually they were I asked each of them, each of the 5 later to cooperate to my research, and I did not pay the honorarium, or I didn't pay the money actually, but I compensate, or I do something, yeah, instead of something. So for example, the Rata A did this research, then okay, I will do this one. So instead of it, would you look at my student presentation? That is how it works. So, and then I ask each one of them, and then each video are 2 minutes long.
Okay.
So 2 minutes long, and 2 minutes long multiply 22 students.
Oh.
So for looking at one presentation one, I heard some later took about one hour, around 1 hour. Some took 1 hour and a half, something like that. But anyway, the later look at 3 presentations, so they took 3 hours.
Okay, that's nice. So do you think we can do the same kind of like video recording for like with the application called Flipgrid? Because I am using that with my students. They do record the video, and yeah, I can set the time how long I want. And the other students do like write comments. Some are like sensible comments, and some comments are just like so vague. But then I think the idea of providing them with this structured rubric, I think is really interesting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And another chat. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Okay. 10 years ago. Oh, and I experimented with peer evaluation of video 10 years ago. And it worked well, but the video were taken by me in class. More recently, it became possible to ask students to upload their own video to the LMS, but I found that they are often reluctant to submit video in which their faces are seen, so I'm asking them to submit audio recordings or narrated PowerPoint slideshow. Were all your students comfortable with video recording themselves? Yeah. Thank you very much for asking me this one. Actually, in my yeah, I shouldn't say like that, but in my generation, if my teacher asked me to take a video, maybe I feel reluctant. But my student generation seems a little bit different. They are familiar with the YouTube, they're familiar with the TikTok. So when I ask them to show their face, they didn't say no. And another reason, other than the generation differences, is because it was under the COVID-19 pandemic, so each student could not meet in person on campus. So each student would like to know who is who. So through the video presentation, especially the presentation one, some students did not actually, perform well, or in terms of the creativity, yeah, David. So in terms of the creativity, the presentation one was not that superb, but the student watched other classmate video in the presentation one, and then they gradually started to expose themselves, disclose themselves, and try to communicate, showing their face. So maybe that situation, COVID-19 pandemic, and the students cannot communicate to each other, they cannot see each other. That situation also had some impact, I think. But I agree, maybe some students are reluctant to submit video, yeah, in which their faces are seen. If I conduct video presentation project now, I'm not so sure how they would react. Yeah, other time the 22 students didn't say no. They try to show their face. Okay, any other questions and comments about the example one? Okay, thank you. It depends on the purpose of the presentation. Thank you. Yeah, I will read the comment because for the video purpose, I think it depends on the purpose of the presentation. If the purpose is just to communicate information, just audio is fine. However, if the purpose is to teach presentation skills, video will be important. Okay, thank you very much for the comment. Yeah, actually, comparing presentation one to presentation three, as I already shared, okay, here. Yeah, student post-course interview suggested that they decided to use gesture and visual aids in presentation three after looking at presentation one and two, because they understood that the nonverbal communication strategy works, and nonverbal communication strategy seems to be important to convey your message. So that is why they prefer to show the face and try to use gesture and using the visual aids. Okay, so shall we take a short break before the second part? Yes, that is what I also thought. So,
Okay, so I'll start a timer here. So we'll be back in 10 minutes. So we'll start at 10 past 7. Okay, thank you. We'll get started. Okay, so thank you. Back to Sachi.
okay, thank you very much. So the second half. So, thank you very much for your feedback and comment up on the example 1 video presentation project. And example 2 is another project which was conducted face-to-face and introduction of favorite English song. So I would like to explain. So if you have any comments, please type in the chat, and I would like to answer, and also I would like to get your feedback later. Okay, so example 2. So again, of course, the peer assessment or peer feedback are included. But this time our situation is different because it was before the COVID-19 pandemic. So I conducted this research, a kind of research, and this activity in the year 2018. And I used the English song. So in English song, which means song with English lyrics. So and in Japanese, yogaku is often said, but if I use English songs in this presentation, please understand. So these are the songs with English lyrics. So these English songs have been frequently used in English lessons. And for example, the Kai survey conducted in 10 years ago already, but he did a questionnaire survey to the Japanese first-year senior high school students. The number of the students was 241. So out of these 241 students, more than 90% reported that English songs are used in junior high school lessons. So more than 90%. So almost everybody have experienced using the English songs in the lesson from the junior high school or senior high school. And then also the previous researcher have pointed out the effectiveness of using English songs. I will explain what kind of effectiveness or what kind of benefit in the next slide. But however, the way of introducing English songs tend to be limited. That is what I want to say. Okay, so second point, previous researchers have pointed out the effectiveness, but the way of introducing English songs tend to be limited. More specifically, what I mean is this one. So effectiveness of using English songs is, some researchers pointed out, by using English songs, which help making positive classroom atmosphere and enhancing student motivation, and also using the English songs helps students learn English sound, rhythm, and the stress. And using the English songs helps students learn English phrases and vocabulary. So there are much more than written benefits to use English songs. However, how to use English songs or how English songs are used in reality in a real classroom setting in Japan especially is just listen or just sing together or just listen and fill in the blank, or in other words, dictation. And of course, recently, for example, when I attended the JALT conferences, are some presenter talking about how to use English songs, and I remember that presenter introducing having their student make a music video, promotion video, and or having the student pretend to be a singer and let them sing together with a song or other things. So there might be another way of using it, but the majority of the teacher and the three main ways of using English song is listening, only listening, or singing together with a song, or dictation. So these three are the still very, very major ways of using English songs. So any other way of using English songs is my initial motive. And then method. So I was a teacher and a researcher, so I took the action research design again. And this was conducted in another university than the example one. So example one, the university, and example two, the university were different. But they are both beginner level students. And this case, they took a compulsory English listening course in the 2018 fall semester. Number of the students is 30, the first year student, and their English proficiency level are beginner. So in terms of the TOEIC, under 300 thing. And I could meet them once a week, so 15 lessons in total, 19 minutes multiplied 15 weeks. And the textbook was already decided by the full-time faculty at the university, 英語のリスニングストラテジー. And this was made by the JASET and also written in Japanese. And I will show a part of it, not to abuse the copyright. So I just show the part of it, but you can get the images. So for example, this type, bold and bold, full or full, hard, heard, kind of minimal pairs. Or another one is content word and function words. So content words tend to be tend to be stronger than the function word. So she likes to read a book. She likes to read a book or something like that. So the difference between the content and function words and the difference of the strength of the stress. Or another page is sometimes the two words are coming together, the linking or assimilation or reduction are happening, right? So look at, but if two words together, look at. So some sound change are happening, but I shouldn't say like that it's a video recorded, but when I look at this textbook and considering the beginner level student and teaching 90 minutes, if I repeatedly practicing minimal pair, if I repeatedly practice, okay, repeat after me, look at, kick off, or something like that. What happened? I would like to make my 90 minutes more creative, more interactive, or more interesting. So then my initial motive, English songs can be used to solve this issue. So what I did is here. So this is 15-week course. So week 1 is a very first class, so orientation of the course. So this class is our English listening, and your textbook is this one, and please buy at the bookstore, at the university, and so on and so on. And then week 1, I explicitly explain the student's task in addition to learning the textbook. What I said is, I already prepared a note, so I just copy to show you the real words I made, real words I said to my student. Okay, so everyone, you will form a group of 3 and analyze your favorite English song based on what you learned in this course. The presentation will start in week 9. We will decide the member of each group and the presentation date next week. So please think of it. The number of the student is 30. So I would like to make a 10 group. So week 1, at the very beginning, I explicitly said to my students, both in English and in Japanese, because they are very beginner. So you will form a group of 3. So there will be 10 groups, and you will analyze the English song based on what you learned in this course. And then presentation will be start in week 9. So it's much later, but there is a reason why I said in week 1. Maybe you can imagine. Okay, so and then week 2, start teaching a kind of bottom-up processing skills. Bottom-up processing skill is recognizing individual sounds, minimal pairs, something like that, or combination of sounds and pattern of stress and rhythm. That is what I just showed to you by using the textbook. And because as I already promised to my students, I decide the group members and each group presentation date. So I would like to ask you, why did I explain the student task on a week 1? Do you have any idea? If you have any idea, would you write in the chat or speak out? Thank you. Yeah, so they don't skip classes. Yes, it's practically true. They don't skip classes. Yes, exactly. They will have a reason to listen. Yes, exactly. So for the beginner level student, thank you very much for your comment. And so for the beginner level student and English listening course, and the textbook is like this minimal pair. If student just looking at the text, then maybe many of them might just get bored or sleep, or anyway, they might not actively get involved in the class. But because I mentioned at the very beginning, and you have to analyze the English song based on what you learn in this course. So there is a good reason. Yeah, it's changing their listening from passive to active listening. Exactly. So there must be a reason. They have to listen. They have to understand, because based on what you learn in the course, they have to analyze, they have to search, or they have to choose the English song. So that's why that was my trick or a tip to introduce this activity. So week 3 to week 8 are 90 minutes class time. Basically 1 hour, 60 minutes, I use the textbook. And I practiced with my student minimal pair and strong and weak syllables or content words versus function words or linking or assimilation, reduction, or any other pronunciation features. And the rest 30 minutes I gave them, and they have to select the song to introduce, and they have to analyze the lyrics and the melodies, for example, and they have to prepare for the presentation material, and the student and because of their proficiency level, they can use their L1 Japanese to explain the song, but the song itself is English song. So they have to look at the lyrics, and they have to listen to that song repeatedly and try to find the features which were taught in the classroom. So that was happening from week 3 to week 8. And then week 9 until week 14, I continue using the textbook, but it's less than 20 minutes or less than 30 minutes. And then the last 1 hour are for the presentation. So 2 to 3 groups are per week.
Oh.
Sometimes only 1 group, or sometimes 2 groups, but anyway, 10 groups are there. So week 9 to week 14 are the student introduce their favorite song, and they have to explain the pronunciation features. They have to explain what are their findings to the classmate. And the audience, other students, wrote a comment, and I collected that from everybody. And then I keep the comment until the week 14. And then on the week 14, I share the comment from the audience to everybody. Okay, this comment is from your group. This comment is from your group. So everybody got the comment at the same timing. And then finally, I asked their impression, or I asked how they feel about this English song introduction activity as a post-course questionnaire. Before providing you with the result, I would like to share the example of what my student made. Because this is video recorded, I don't want to abuse the copyright, so I just only partially. Okay. For example, like this. So of course, I got the permission from my student at the time. So this is part of your word. This is one of the songs from the Disney movie. That group made a PowerPoint slide, and they played the song with their smartphone, and they show this slide. And then they wrote the lyrics, and I would like. Okay, and so the first line, look at this stuff. And then that group pointed out the first line, and please listen. You see, look at this stuff. Look, k is consonant and a is the vowel. So consonant plus vowel is linking. So look at. And then they play one more time. So it's a kind of they became a teacher. I thought the linking, I thought the assimilation or reduction, but using their favorite songs, they became a teacher instead of me. Or another group made yes. Can you see? This is a handout type. They didn't make a PowerPoint. I just prepare something. So they selected the song Glad You Came from the Glee. And then they underline, or sometimes they show the connection mark to show the linking, or they will they highlighting some part and explain this. For example, this group explain this is interesting not only in the pronunciation but also the vocabulary, because this is turn the light out now, and now starting from now, and at the end of hand, and hand starting from the hand. In Japanese, it's a kind of shiritori. So they find the unique feature, not only the pronunciation, but also the just choice of the word. So these things happening. Okay, so go back to my slide. So now you got the images about the presentation, and the audience made a comment. So it's a kind of peer assessment. How did you feel about it? And then I got the result. So reading the questionnaire, I found mainly 3 benefits. 3 is a magical word, so I divided it into 3. But the 3 benefits are of this type of activity. The first benefit is students actively learned and gained bottom-up processing skill through the process of accomplishing the task. If I only ask students to practice minimal pair with me, maybe they just got bored. But they have to introduce their song, their favorite song, and they have to introduce their analysis. So they wrote, I listened to the song many times and found a part related to what I learned in the lesson. And thanks to the lesson, I could clearly understand the linking and the parts that are hard to hear because of weak syllables. I'm not so sure whether they really could clearly understand. I'm not so sure, but they say like that. And then the final comment, I became able to understand linking, assimilation, weak syllables, etc. These are useful for listening. So anyway, through the process of analyzing and introducing the favorite songs to others, and also by introducing the peer assessment, their presentation are watched by their classmates, they actively learned and gained the bottom-up processing skills. And second benefit is, by assessing the classmate presentation, students actively and repeatedly reviewed what they had learned in lesson, learning by assessing happening again. So the student said, I chose a song that is known to everyone and include many parts we learned in the lesson. And then second comment is, because my classmates explained what we had learned in class, I could review it repeatedly. Yeah, there are 10 groups repeatedly analyzing based on what they had learned in the class. So naturally, they learn the same thing again and again and again, but the English songs are different depending on the group, so they didn't get bored. And the last comment is, my classmate once again taught us what the teacher had taught us, which helped me understand well. Yeah, so I taught my student once, but after that, the student repeatedly make a presentation 10 groups. So the student repeatedly review and learn. So by being the audience, by assessing the classmate presentation, they learn. Finally, authenticity again. This authentic task with peer feedback enhance the motivation. The student said, it is not interesting to learn from the textbook, but preparing for a presentation was fun. I learned how pronunciation features are used, which was useful. So if I only use the textbook during the 15 weeks, maybe students have totally different images or different perception. But by introducing peer assessment or peer feedback activity, they said, I enjoy searching what we had learned from our favorite songs. Okay, so this is my second example. So would you I would like to listen to your comment and feedback or any questions. Okay. You can speak up or please let me know by the chat.
So Sachi, what was your rubric for this particular part?
This rubric, I didn't make 1, 2, 3, 4 type of rubric, but I watched whether they understood what I thought was covered or mentioned in their presentation. And I also ask my student, when you write a comment, don't say I like this song, or don't say it's my first time to listen to this song. But you can write it, but please mention that analysis related to what they learned in the classroom.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, chat. Okay, for the video viewers, I will read. Good activity. If you want to go one level higher of a task, use the topic Song of My Life. Students choose one song lyrics that are more important that relate to their life and have to explain how it is the song of their life. Oh, great. Thank you very much. I would like to introduce it. And okay, another comment is, thank you, Sachi. It seemed that all student comments were in Japanese. So why did you let your student write their comment in Japanese? Oh, sorry, my explanation was not clear enough. A student wrote their comment in Japanese. Yeah, student wrote a comment in Japanese. Because my presentation is in English, I just say, you can write, you can write, I love this song, but please please mention whether this is related to what we have learned. Sorry, I'm sorry. The example 1 blog is I let the student write I let my students write a simple English. But this time, because whether this is related to what we have learned or not, is a little bit difficult for them to write in English. So I allow them to write Japanese to make a comment. Thank you very much to clarify it. Yeah. Thank you. One question. Hi. Idea of having students develop their own rubric. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Idea of having students develop their own rubric. Yeah, it's a very good idea. Yeah, I should have thought of it, and I would like to think of it. Yeah, then maybe the student will be much more actively involved in assessing, and they learn more. Thank you. Oh, yeah. My idea was to have students rate foreigners speaking Japanese and develop a rubric of their own, then try to apply that rubric in peer assessment of English. Oh, thank you very much for sharing it. Yeah, I haven't had my student make rubric by their own, but definitely, yeah, it will be great opportunity for them and to naturally get involved in the activity. Okay, Thanks for the interesting presentation. Were there any songs that you recommended they should not do because of the difficulty of the lyrics? Actually, I didn't say no or when I casually talk to some of the students while preparing the presentation, many groups said that they changed the song. Actually, first, they chose one song and then they look at the lyrics and they listen to the songs repeatedly. But if the words contain too many kind of jargon or too many kind of original phrases or
Idiomatic language, poetic language.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. Then student cannot analyze it. And then, okay, so then maybe different songs will be better. That student are told the songs, but anyway, they finish. For example, for the copyright purposes, I just say the title or artist. For example, some group chose the Ariana Grande song, or at the time at the time of the year, Pharrell Williams' "Happy" was a mega hit, so they use "Happy." Or some of the students use Beauty and the Beast, Celine Dion, and People Blythen, or Bruno Mars.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also the around the it was around the Christmas time, so some of them are using the Mariah Carey, "All I Want for Christmas Is You," or "Last Christmas," or and a Taylor Swift. So a variety of music are chosen. Okay, and have you considered getting them to sing, because that is good evidence that they have learned the point from the lesson? Thank you very much for the question. Actually, some of the group actually sung in front of us voluntarily. So and then that group went to karaoke because it was before the COVID-19. So and practicing singing that song repeatedly according to them. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I didn't force every 10 groups to sing, but I remember about half. So yeah, 4 groups or 5 groups sung in front of us, even at part of it, but they sung. Okay. Sachi, I give my student the choice of writing in English or Japanese. Oh, you may wish to try it. Most of my students choose write in English. Great student. So now I'm at the Chuo Gakuin University, and many of my students are at the beginner's level, and I'm wondering which language will be suitable to express their idea. So I would like to yeah, get your idea. Thank you. Thank you very much. Maybe I would like to give them the choice. You can write either in English or Japanese. I hope my student would write in English. Yeah, bad words in the lyrics. Yes, it is. Okay, do you have any others? Okay, so that now that there are many great comments about the chat. So here, comment from the audience part. I allow my student to write Japanese, but I got a great comment. First is give that choice whether you can write English or Japanese, or another comment is they can write as much as they can in English and then switch to Japanese. Or they can use a translation application apps and then write it in their own hand. Oh yeah. Now they have a translation application. Yes. Thank you very much. So when I do it the next time, I would like to think of the rubric. If I can. and also comments whether L1 or L2 or how to introduce. I would like to improve more. And also the topic is not only the analyzing the English song lyrics, but also how this song is important to your life. It's much more fun to listen to, or it's going to be much more creative. Thank you very much. Okay, so thank you very much. So this is all about my presentation, and these are the references. So maybe you will download or share it later. So if my presentation will be of some use, I will be very, very happy. So today, thank you very much once again. Thank you very much for giving me a great opportunity to share two examples two examples, and then you already noticed that both two examples have the peer assessment. By introducing peer assessment or peer feedback, students get actively involved in the process of learning, and they learn much more deeply. So that is what I want to emphasize. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you.